Hello and welcome to the channel. For today's tutorial, I'll be sharing with you how to make a transparent backless corset or a corset without back. So if you haven't yet subscribed, please hit on the subscribe button and don't forget to give this video a thumbs up. So let's start. So first of all, for this pattern, I've gone ahead to mark my basic measurement, which is my shoulder to bust, my shoulder to under bust, and my shoulder to waistline. And I marked out a basic neckline of 3 by 3 inches. So next, I'm going to be measuring the shoulder that I'm working with, and I'm going to mark, and I will go down by 1 inch, and I will go ahead to draw my shoulder slope. Next is to mark my chest line, and to get that is your bust divided by 6 plus 1.5 inches, and I will go ahead to place my ruler and I will mark a straight line for my chest line. Then I'll go ahead to label that as CL, meaning chest line. So whatever I have on the shoulder, I'm going to take it down to the chest line. So after doing that, I'll place my tape and I'm going to go ahead to draw a straight line. So after drawing a straight line, I'm going to divide what I have at the chest line into two to draw my armhole curve. Although we will not be needing the upper part of this dress, but it's still important to draft it out in case you want to attach yoke to yours. So what I'm going to do is to place this French curve, and I'm going to place my tape, and I'm going to get the bust circumference I'm working with divided by 4, and I'm going to go ahead to mark. Then I'll place my French curve touching that part and to that ½ inch I came in by, and from that point I'm going to take it up to the shoulder line of this particular pattern. So this is what I have, and I will go ahead to outline it with my marker. Next is to mark the dart intake. So what I'm going to do right now is to mark the nipple to nipple of the person I'm working on the dress for, and I'm going to mark it. So I have 8 inches. I'm going to mark it on the chest line, on the bust line, on the under bust, and also at the waistline. So this pattern is not actually going to be reaching the waistline. As you can see at the thumbnail, is a bit above the waistline, I mean the front part of this dress. So I'll go ahead to draw a straight line connecting all those dots that I have made. And also I'll be taking a dart intake of 1 inch at both sides of my under bust and waistline, and I'll go ahead to connect it back with my pencil. I also went ahead to outline it with my marker. So next I will be drawing the cup part, and I'm going to place at the bust, and I'm going to connect to the other bust this way, and I'm also going to repeat the same process at the other part. So you can go ahead to mark your bust radius, but you're going to still get the same result, and I'm going to go ahead to outline the mark that I have made. So already this corset is revealing, so I'm just going to go in by ½ inch. I'm not going to go lower at my chest line. So what I'm going to do is just to go ahead to place my French curve, and I'm going to connect down to my chest line. So next is to determine the neckline. Next, I'll be extending that line up by 2 inches. You can go ahead to mark 1.5, but this corset is already revealing, so I'll just leave it at 2 inches and continue taking my 1 inch dart at the upper part, and I'll go ahead to place my French curve connect, and I'm also going to do to the other side. To draw the cup at the upper part, you have to be careful at this point, because whatever you have there, whatever shape you have there, is how the cup of your corset is going to be. So I'll just go ahead to just connect it this way. So after connecting it, what I'm going to do next is to take my pencil, and I'm just going to draw a line at this part to meet the other part. So please don't make that point to be too curvy. If not, when you're joining your cup, it might not meet. So this is what I have at that point. And next is to draw the side of the cup. So to draw my cup, I'm just going to measure what I have here, divide it into 2, and I'm going to place my French curve, and I'm going to go ahead to connect it down to my under bust this way. So after doing that, the side cup is ready. Now you can decide to go down by ½ inch at the chest line if you want to also. Now to draw the upper part of my cup, I'm going to place my French cup this way, touching that point at my chest line, and I'm just going to connect. Next step you're going to take is to go ahead to outline your cup area so that it will be visible. So next, after connecting my cup, is to take my body circumference, and I'm going to place my tape and I will mark my bust circumference, measure what I have there, and I'm going to replace it. So for my allowance, I will add that directly to my fabric. When I'm cutting out, I'll just place and add my sewing allowance because I don't need much allowance. And at the under bust, I'm going to just measure the under bust circumference divided by 4, and I'm going to mark the dart intake and I will replace. Going over to the waist, I'm just going to mark the waist circumference divided by 4, and after doing that, I'm going to go ahead to measure the dart intake and I will replace it also. So next, I'm going to connect my bust to my chest line, and from my bust to my under bust, and from my under bust down to the waistline. So while looking at the waistline, you notice that it is a bit above the waistline. So what I'm just going to do is to mark 1.5 inches upwards from the waistline, or you can just go ahead and mark 2 inches from the waistline also. So after marking that, I'm just going to place my ruler and I'm going to draw connecting a straight line. So what I'm going to do is just cut out the pattern from that waist point. So I've cut it out and I'll go ahead to number this part as 1 and the other part as 2. So I'll go ahead to cut out all my front pattern, and I'm going to do away with the upper part because we don't need a yoke. So I just did that in case you want to attach yoke to yours. So after cutting it, we'll be moving over to the front part of this corset. So after cutting out, I'm going to move over to the back. So for the back, this is what I have. I just traced out exactly the measurement I have at the back, and I'm going to mark ½ inch to remove the bulginess at the back of the dress, and I'm going to go ahead to extend it to the upper part. So you're going to mark a zipper allowance in front of your dress. So what I'm going to do is to cut out that zipper allowance. After cutting it out, we are going to be drafting the back pattern. So to do that, you're just going to take the front part of your pattern. As you can see, I taped it together, so there's nothing much going at the back. We are going to be using a zipper for the back. So what you do is just to pin it down. Placing my front pattern on it this way, and I'm going to start placing from the zipper allowance. I'll just cut out the excess I have by this side. So remember, I'm going to be adding the allowance while I'm sewing. So I'll go ahead to unpin this pattern, and my back pattern is ready just like that. So we are going to go ahead and create boning channels on it right when we are sewing. So moving over to my skirt pattern, so I'm making 2 dresses for my client actually. So I went ahead to draft the skirt pattern already. So I'll be using this to illustrate for this particular pattern. So what I did was to cut out my full length, and after that I added 2 inches folding allowance, or you can say 2 inches turn up allowance at the lower part. So you can see my skirt length and the 2 inches. After that, I went ahead to measure 7 inches down to the hip line. So to get your skirt measurement for the lower part, if your gown is 50 inches, you have to minus your shoulder to waist from it. So whatever you have left is your skirt or the lower part of your dress. So I marked 7 inches for my hip, and I went ahead to place my waist to knee point. So at my waist to knee point, I went up by 2 inches. So why did I go up by 2 inches? Is just to give the skirt fitting at the knee parts, like the lower part of the skirt. So at your knee point, what you're going to do is to go ahead, whatever you have at your hip, you're going to minus 2 inches. Let's just say your hip is 40 divided by 4, you have 10 plus your 2 inches sewing allowance, that's 12. So that 12 inches, you'll be minusing 2 inches from it, and you'll be marking it at your knee part. And at that 2 inches you went up by, you're also going to mark it. And that same measurement, you're going to take it down to the lower part of your skirt. So coming up to the waist part of this skirt, on the upper part of this pattern we went up by 2 inches for the waistline, so we'll be replacing that 1.5 inches we went up by. So I'm going to introduce this paper and I'm just going to tape it, and I'll go ahead to mark that 1.5 inches we went up by. So next I'm going to place my tape up this way, and I'm going to go ahead to connect with a straight line. So after connecting, I'm just going to cut it off. So with this, my pattern is ready. So for the back part of the skirt, what you're going to do is to go ahead to add your zipper allowance to it, and your skirt pattern is ready. So see you in our next video when we will be joining this particular pattern. And please don't forget to hit on the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up if you haven't yet.